Welcome to the Javier Mendez podcast. This is a podcast with Tony and Len. And hey, we're just here to cover some of the topics that we haven't talked about in a while. A lot of stuff in the news. Of course, it's very sad, the passing of Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, Khabib's father, who was in the hospital. And I mean, even the president was trying to save his life. He'd had heart problems, I believe, a couple times. And then the COVID mixed with that, recovering from that's really rough. And, a lot of people have been going through this. You've been dealing with this with your own father, Tony. I mean, dealing with having somebody, a loved one during these times, like time stands still, and that's the only thing in front of us. And I'm sure it really impacts, Habib's world in a way that most people, can't really anticipate.
Well, here's the big difference with him. His father was his best friend, his coach, his confidant, like a lot of people, they don't even like their fathers.
Right.
And him and his father, their relationship, I mean, the devastation he's feeling. And another thing, too, his father was really young. That makes it worse.
Yeah.
So, I can't imagine the tidal wave of pain he's feeling right now. Like, no one can say anything to him.
Yeah, I'm certainly not calling him for a quote, nor would I ever do anything so disrespectful during these times. I mean, it's a huge impact. He's had such a winning career. His father was there since he was a little boy, training him since before he was 5 years old and having him wrestling bears and everything else, But his father was a great champion. And then he went on to inspire the whole village and many, many other fighters. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kids, if not thousands. And, he was also very politically powerful in the region of Dagestan as well. So, when the president of Russia calls you in after your son's fight, you're pretty up there, and this is really rough. I mean, nobody really has the cure for COVID. So what could they do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, well, there is a few things you can do. So the majority of the people walking the earth have really, really low vitamin D levels. So what I do, and a lot of people, my friends that actually got the virus, we actually upped our vitamin D levels to as much as 40,000 a day. And it really, really slows it up. I mean, I know a lot of people, they recovered in 3 days, even 4 days. So if you and up your zinc levels, because that's what a Z-Pack is. It's zinc times 10,000. So if you keep your zinc levels high and your D3 levels high, the virus absolutely has problems, because it's looking for pre-existing conditions. It's looking for, weak gut flora so it can attach. The virus needs a host. So the brand that I use, not endorsed, I'm not sponsored by them, but Vitamin Code makes the best stuff that I've seen. It's unbelievably clean. It's raw. It's not from China. So, you're not eating Fred and Barney Flintstone. They also have a zinc that is absolutely magnificent. So I take 5 to 10,000 a day, but if I feel my immune system is being compromised, I'll go as high as 40,000. So if you take it with a fat source, such as coconut oil, olive oil, or something like that, your absorption rate will be even better.
That's a very good tip.
Well, here's another tip. This one here is my best tip. Okay. So I picked this up here. This spray here kills any virus and coronavirus for 24 hours. So if you spray it on your clothes, shoes, spray the inside of your car, nothing can live. So the scent is real light. It isn't like Lysol where you smell like, some perfume sissy shit. And it doesn't stick to you because it's not oil-based. It's very, very inexpensive. And let me tell you something. All my friends are running out to get it because they work in the hotel industry, they're trainers. And like I say, you spray yourself once, the virus can't even attach to you for 24 hours. I mean, what more could you ask for? So I would suggest jiu-jitsu gyms or maybe this company can sponsor people or something like that. Because I'm telling you, that's my best tip there is.
So, my friends are doing something else. They're also doing like UVC lighting. They're going in and blasting sunshine, in buildings with these huge arrays of lamps. They're like $100,000. And it's too expensive for the average person. I know you can buy these lamps for like $900 and you put them in your house and they're supposed to kill everything in that room, but you're not supposed to be in the room while it's running because it's, I don't know, has some negative effect on you, but it does
Well, that
kill
sounds like
it,
Superman 2, and he's in the ice house of solitude, and Zod comes in there and he switches the light and takes his power away. I mean, like who can afford that? You know what I'm saying? It's just, it isn't cost efficient to the point where I don't see it in airports. I don't see it on airplanes, and I don't see it in hotels, and they have an unlimited, well, they do have a lot of income and stuff like that, and I don't see where the government is sponsoring it. So I think there could be flaws in that system.
No, that's like, if that was the perfect system, we'd be laserizing everybody and, people wouldn't catch it on the beach. So there's still a lot to know. I mean, one day we're an expert and the next day we're not. You're still here, I'm still here. So whatever we're doing is working. And I believe in the immunity system.
This is one thing that I have observed. They keep having these little hot pocket spots.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the virus needs, like an atom needs all these molecules to accumulate so it can create. So when there's a crowd of people, it's almost like the virus pulls from each person, makes the virus, and then it attaches to the weak person. That's why when there's just a couple of people around, it won't attach. But if there's a crowd of people, it's like the virus pulls the molecules to create itself, almost like a chemtrail, like if they're spraying these hot pockets and then all of a sudden it appears.
It's like everybody brings an ingredient to the table and like, we shouldn't have invited Billy. He bought the thing. It completed the whole recipe. Now, whoever the weak person gets it,
that's what it seems to me, because the sun is not killing it. It's over 100 degrees out here. And this city is loaded with the virus. It is loaded.
A lot of that speaks to people going out boating, rushing the beach. Like I just moved back from the beach and I know that place was crowded. And then you look at Florida and you look at other places, people are just trying to escape outside to get some sense of normalcy. And
yes, but then it goes back to what I say. Like it has to be each one of these people add an ingredient to that molecule to create it.
Yeah. Back to Khabib, the great thing about the support system, and it's not great that the father passed or anything. I mean, may he rest in peace. He was a wonderful, wonderful man. I mean, I never get to meet him. I've got to meet Khabib many times and film him and all that. And I see his relationship with Javier. And, luckily Javier's here. It doesn't make things any better for what has happened, but Khabib has a very strong structure should he choose to come back and fight anytime soon. It's a big question as to whether he will, but it's wonderful that the structure, the team is there. I mean, it's you know what I'm saying? It's not Mike Tyson.
Well, I don't have confirmation of it, and it's just a theory of mine. But sometimes when a person is sick, they kind of bring in someone else who they can pass the torch to that fits into that mold. It's almost like when Michael Jordan's dad died, his head of security filled that void because Michael Jordan, he didn't hang out with young people or nothing else. He hung out with older guys. And the older security guy became the mentor for him. And they understood that. So you got to realize, the more successful people hang out with the smarter older people. They don't hang out with young people who, that are filled with conspiracy theories or trying to validate themselves through, whatever.
I would definitely say that, knowing and meeting Khabib, he has that leadership built into him. His father has helped him lay a great road to becoming a good man, a strong man, a focused and very intelligent himself. He can think for himself, Some
100%. And the reality of it is, regardless of the ending, it's an incredible love story of how a father and son could be. Because so many, children don't get along with their parents, and there's always a feud. And, you know, it's just it's really an amazing thing how they bonded. And like I said, most fighters hate their father. So for him to be at the level that he is and have that much love, it just shows that love is stronger than hate.
That's true. And if you look at the story, I mean, you see all the news, this country versus that country, whatever. Here we had somebody from Russia, and even more interesting, southern Russia, which is, you know, a whole different religion than a lot of the northern Russia, which is the Muslim Russians, Dagestan and the Chechnya area. And he ends up with a Mexican American kickboxing coach. And then it was great that Hav made the time to go to Dagestan and get to know the father, and they became friends. And he's like, we didn't, you know, speak the same language or share a lot of words. They could just feel each other. They could just vibe that they both wanted the best for
Because
Khabib.
a person is not their religion.
Right.
His relationship with Allah is his personal relationship. It has nothing to do with anybody else. Everybody's relationship with their belief and their God is their personal relationship. It's just politicians make money off turning people against each other and hate and dividing, and, you know, the Christians got to fight these people and this and that. They make a lot of money off of that stuff.
It keeps people chasing. I mean, the bond between, you know, Javier and Khabib, and, you know, Khabib's father was amazing. And I know that there's a lot of strength there. And the team, they're all together. They're so supportive of each other. And they have a routine. They have something there. It's like different than when you look back at Tiger Woods. His kind of record fell off when his dad passed. Or you look at, you know, Gus D'Amato passing and how that affected Mike Tyson's life. You know, this is something where his structure is so strong. I don't foresee anything like that. And I foresee that,
well,
you know,
that what you're saying is 100% correct, minus Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Tiger Woods got hooked on painkillers, and he got hooked on so much steroids because he was obsessed with bench pressing 300 pounds that he destroyed his body. And because he was lifting such heavy weights, it ruined his golf game.
Yeah, you kind of take that out of balance.
That's completely different because he's such a narcissistic person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different story. Well, hopefully we'll get a chance to have Hav back on here and hear his side of things. But, you know, that was my 2 cents. And you know Hav and I know Hav, and we talked to him about all of this behind the scenes. I mean, you know, now we're looking at Fight Island coming up. All of a sudden, Gilbert Burns was off the card, tested positive with COVID. I think he trains in Florida. I'm not sure. But that place is heavy with the coronavirus.
Loaded.
Right. And it's not the first person. The other guy that got it, the alligator, I can't think of his name, but 185 pounder jiu-jitsu guy. Oh my gosh. Sousa, I think.
Well, like I said, the coronavirus in 2 months wiped out 100 years of jiu-jitsu. I mean, I don't know how jiu-jitsu gyms are going to survive, but maybe if you buy that spray that I recommended, that, you know, it kills it for 24 hours. So maybe that could help.
And it's such a weird time. I mean, I have a lot of friends that own gyms. It's open, close, stop, go, you know, and it's like, should we, we're open, we're closed. And Javier's 100% shut down. There's no training in the gym, not even for fighters, you know.
The reason why is because when the virus first hit in January, a lot of New Yorkers had it, and they just thought they had the flu.
Yeah.
So they didn't go to the hospital, and they waited 2 or 3 weeks, and by that time it was too late. So now with testing, and if you have a high fever, you can go to the hospital, and your death rate is very, very, very low. But a lot of people just, a lot of New Yorkers, hey, I got a cough. I'm just coughing. I'll be fine, you know, and before you know it, you're done. So, you know, they have to stop it from mutating. Because like I said, when it first, January, there was like, you know, 3 or 4 different mutations. And then by the end of March, there was 35 different mutations. So as of right now, I don't know how many mutations there are. It could be unreal.
No, you know what? They say there's different strands, and I'm not the expert. You read, you know, if you use the news as your source, it's kind of hard to tell. And then you got to go look at the database, you know, information and say, did this guy twist this? And then you're like, I'm not looking at it for a couple days. Let's see what shakes out. And it's so hard to call right now. But it's interesting because of this, Gilbert Burns get knocked off the card, and Jorge Masvidal was threatening to retire because he wanted a title fight or something, and boom, the door opens.
Yeah.
Hopefully he makes it. He's in Florida too. I'm not just like blanketing Florida with the COVID. Hopefully he kept himself distant, and that fight comes together. But it looks like it's signed. It said, I think it was bearing with that he passes all the tests. That he and it's just like, I think they test you here before they put you on the plane, because Dubai, Abu Dhabi, they're different places, but they're next to each other. They were very, very, very strict on who comes over there. Like Khabib went there thinking that the UFC that he get pushed off of was going to happen there. You know what I'm saying? And they said, no, you can't come in. So they just opened. I think they're just opening July 7th to let this happen. So they're doing a lot of pre-medical. So, but we didn't really lose. I'm like, okay, we were going to watch Max Holloway fight Volkanovski for the title fight. That would have been pretty exciting. And then Peter Yan was fighting just below them. But I am excited to see Jorge Masvidal versus Kamaru Usman. How do you see that going?
George is so dangerous in those early rounds. And the first 2 rounds, George has a big chance for an upset. He really does.
I know about Usman has a very unique injury set or something with his legs, so he doesn't run. He can box, he can move around the ring, he'll swim, and it's knees or legs or hips, something like that. I'd heard about
well, his boxing is at a very, very low level. He's very, very stiff, very methodical. So George will be able to hit him very easy, and George will get some freebies out of this world. So he better prepare to take some serious bombs.
What do you think the difference, the threat that was being posed by Burns versus Jorge? What do you think the difference is like between the two?
Well, Jorge is an explosive striker.
Yeah.
He has his legs are powering his punches. He has so much, his legs are powering his punches. He isn't arm punching. He strikes more like he fights like a street fighter and a fighter. So he has that street element, like Mike Tyson has that street element to him. They're very, very explosive,
That's true. I mean, he does have verifiable street fighting videos. He was on the Kimbo Slice videos back.
Yeah, he has that explosiveness, that street style, and people on the street, they're a lot of them are not ring fighters, but the first few seconds, man, they can accelerate and transfer a lot of power.
My goodness. What do you think about Fight Island? What do you think about Yaz Island? Have you ever seen it? I looked at videos of it. It's a beautiful place, man. It's like, I think it was
Dana probably woke up at 3:00 in the morning, watched Enter the Dragon, and said, hey, let me do this. And I think it's a fabulous idea. And, they got to do something, man. I mean, there is no other sports. And when there's no sports, guess what? Violence is up. Murder is up. All crime has went through the roof because there's no sports. And everybody else is rolled over, but Dana is fighting every single day of his life to try to bring some damn entertainment to people.
You called it. You called it before. You called this months ago. You said, if there's no sports, watch the violence raise up because there's nothing to distract people. So the only sport lately is getting in fights, causing violence, fighting amongst each other.
Marching, protesting. The world's coming to an end. Everybody hates each other's guts. I mean, there's Karens. I mean, it's they need sports bad. They need sports bad.
These people are trying to be the sport. It's crazy times. The only thing to focus on is hate and anger. You put people in this hurry up and wait situation, which reminds me of the military. They'd make you, well, you're going to go do a thing. You're getting stationed somewhere, and all of a sudden you've been sitting in this barracks room with nothing to do for 3 weeks, and you never went anywhere, and you didn't even go out and enjoy yourself on the town because you might have to go somewhere. So it's kind of like that same feeling.
I know, but there's such easy solutions to get rid of a protest. I'm not going to go into a long rant about it, but technically there's 38 million black people in America. So if 10% decides to pull all their money out of Bank of America, guess what? Bank of America is going to be done. They're going to be up against the ropes. So, hey, look, you give us a few jobs and we'll stop the protest and you waive our late fees. And guess what? That's the end of the protest. It's over with because everything is about money. Right. And I guarantee you Wells Fargo would match that. So if there's 38 million black people in America and they decide to boycott one bank or boycott Nike for 3 months, guess what? Those companies are done. So that's how you protest. That's how you finish companies off, because everything is about money. And that's why money says, in God we trust, because money is God.
That is amazing. That is deeply insightful. I don't know if the whole world will digest it, but it's got a hard ring of truth to it. Now,
exactly.
So you were bringing this up earlier. UFC is getting rid of or losing or not trying to re-sign Reebok. You know, in the beginning, years ago, fighters used to get their own sponsors. They'd be like Johnny's Can Opener Shop and, Muscle Fuel and Death Knight Rider fighting T-shirts, whatever. And, back then, supposedly the fighters made more money because they were getting primetime exposure on their shorts and their pants. Now Reebok came out and they proposed, well, everybody's getting it. But imagine if Conor had proper 12 all over his shorts, instead of Reebok. Who do you think they're going to choose to replace it? Do you think it's another major clothing brand like an Adidas, a Nike?
Okay, so here was the problem with Reebok. Reebok has never really been that popular in the United States because their left shoe, for some reason, had poor stitching and it always got tears in it. So for years of people buying faulty Reeboks, the brand kind of fizzled. But Reebok makes all their money in Russia and India, so they don't care about the American market. That's the next thing. 2, Adidas bought Reebok. And Adidas is a major company that is doing epic stuff. Yeah. And it has the classic 3 stripes. So getting Reebok to sponsor UFC was a big, big mistake because the brand is just too damn weak.
Well, what's interesting is at the time they got Reebok, it was probably like, we'll be more legitimate. We'll look like the NFL. They have Nike. They have whatever. Or the NBA. They have Converse. They have Nike. They have Adidas. All the different players and their different shoe brands. So it did look like, okay, the sport looks more official now. Like tennis has Adidas, Reebok, whatever.
I know, but look at the brand they picked. They picked a weak brand. They would have been better off. They would have been better off with Skechers. But there's a Skechers outlet every 3 miles across the whole country, and look how far Skechers have came up. It's unbelievable.
I would say now that the shift has changed because right now they're the only sport and the pickings are up to them at the UFC. So pick whatever brand you want because any brand that needs to advertise needs to have it on athletes in motion to get people to want to buy that product. So I bet they did not sell millions of Reebok because of UFC. Just my guess. I mean, I certainly didn't buy one pair.
They didn't care. They didn't care because they have the Russian and Indian market.
Right.
They have that. They're making a fortune there. They don't even care. And think about it. Adidas gave James Harden $200 million to wear their shoe. They've made a few $1 billion off of him. So he technically got shortchanged. Yeah.
It's the age-old story. I'm worth more. I'm worth less. I mean, they take – not every sponsor gets their money back, but if the guy keeps winning,
here's the thing. Yeah. Here's what a lot of people miss. All the UFC fighters want money, but you have to think of it like this. UFC is your employer. How much money do you make your employer? So James Harden makes the NBA billions of dollars, and he makes Adidas billions of dollars. So in return, they stuff his wallet. So someone like Paige Van Zandt, who dances in her fights and she dances out of her fights, how can she expect to get a pay raise?
Yeah.
It's MMA. It's not ballroom dancing.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you could be really popular on Instagram and that value, there's a value and there's a market for that to get sponsors. But if your cage performance doesn't live up to your popularity on Instagram. I mean,
If you're
boom.
throwing dance kicks, I mean, it's just at some point it ain't going to sell. Like, you know.
Yeah. Let's talk about Mike Tyson. He's been talking about a comeback. There's videos airing of him going full speed and looking amazing. And I don't know if COVID did this or he's like, man, because he's had so many ups and downs financially. It's really hard when you make that kind of money. Happens to a lot of celebrities, a lot of pro athletes. Here you go, kid. Here's $50 million. You never had more than 10,000 in a year. All of a sudden, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do with this money. Set it on fire. And then, oh, by the way, now that you spent it, the IRS wants half of it back. And that happens to a lot of these, athletes. It's really hard on them,
Well, there's two sides to the coin of that. Mike Tyson grossed $400 million in boxing, but he wasn't paid $400 million because Don King robbed him.
Mm.
So that's the first thing.
He might have get taxed at $400 million, poor guy. And that's
Well, you have to pay the
put in
prize
the
fighter
whole
tax and everything else.
Yeah.
And then, after the Frank Bruno fight, Don King gave him this giant duffel bag filled with money, which probably had 300 grand in it. And Don King, pocketed the money. So when you're dealing with a soulless thief snake like that, Mike Tyson did not get paid $400 million. There's no way.
Wow.
Everybody robbed him.
Well, I mean, there's that 30 for 30 broke where you see a lot of athletes, they get more money than they, easy come, easy go, more money than they've ever had. And it's not just for athletes, it could be anybody. You take Bob the plumber and say, here, Bob, you're worth $100 million. He might go blow it like, I need diamond jewelry all the time. I mean, it's just really how that affects people. It's amazing. It's beautiful to see people
that's
come
why
up.
people should have.
I think he's going to fight.
I don't know who he's going to fight, but I think he should go for soft targets. I think he should beat up MMA fighters, like beat up Tito, because it'll be spectacular. And also he could be selling a dream that Tito, who's a wrestler, grew up watching Mike Tyson, and he gets the fantasy to fight him. And maybe just by luck, he could throw a lucky punch and land something. So that creates a dream. It sells a lot of tickets, and everybody will watch. It's all about entertainment. Mike Tyson don't need to fight no real fights because Mike said he's been getting high for years, and then he's doing hallucinogenics and seeing talking toads and all this other stuff. And you got to remember, before Mike retired, Mike's chin was gone. So as you get older, your chin does not get better. So if someone clips him, I don't care how good he looks on the pads, because those videos are edited and anybody can throw. That's just muscle memory he's throwing. So he's throwing punches for 6 seconds. That's just muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
Not discrediting him or nothing else, but that's just muscle memory that he's doing. Now, if you watch an entire workout of him, of 10 minutes of him working out, you'll see what's going on.
Yeah. So
but I say he should beat up MMA fighters. Knock out Shaquille O'Neal. Everybody would love to see that.
What I don't know if he can reach that. It's you just say up. You know what I mean? Shaquille's tall, man. That's I don't know. There's
I know,
a big
but
disparity
you
in
want to
reach.
see that? Shaquille O'Neal has been doing martial arts for 20-some years, and he actually is dangerous. You never know.
He could take it to the body, that's for sure. That's how you chop down that tree. But I will say, like MMA fighters, Tito was not known for his, boxing prowess. He just, against Chuck recently, he got a knockout. One of the few on his record. He was mainly a ground and pounder. And then
his chin is gone, and because he didn't consistently work on his craft, because he had like 500 surgeries, that could be a reason too. But still, you never know.
They were talking about
interesting.
They were talking about Wanderlei Silva. Now that's something would have been.
He's too little. He's too little. Too little.
Well, yeah, Tito. I could see your point, then it was John Jones, and then it's like a couple of other older boxers that are sitting around like, hey, you want to mix it up? Any one of the people he fought in the past? Anybody?
No, you don't need to recycle. MMA has better ratings than boxing, and MMA fighters have bigger balls and bigger guts than boxers do, because they'll cross over sports and they'll go for it. Boxers will never, ever try MMA. They'll never go up against kickboxing, because I know one of the greatest boxers that ever walked the earth, and he was terrified to go up against Dewey Cooper in a kickboxing bout where Dewey could kick and he could box. He wanted no part of it. So a lot of boxers, man, they'll talk that hype and stuff like that, but they won't do it. Bernard Hopkins won't fight someone who kicks. So the MMA guys their balls are 10 times bigger. They're way tougher.
They I saw in the old K1 fights, a boxer goes over and all of a sudden he's like, oh, that was my leg. A guy just nails the first round, bam, bam, and I think once in a while a boxer might have pulled it off, but most of the time, 90% of the time, once those legs get chopped down.
Japan was notorious for getting old people and giving you extra money to just show up and,
Yeah. The pro wrestling of MMA.
Yeah, I did it.
Right?
They're like, they call me on a Monday. I'm like, hey, you want to fight the best wrestler in the country? I'm like, when? Friday. I'm like, I don't wrestle. They're like, fine, come get 20 stacks. I'm like, why not?
Yeah, see you Friday.
Yeah.
That's all good. Well, it's been a tremendous podcast, man. You've been very informative. It's been a while since we had you back on here. It's good to have you back in town, Tony.
Yeah, for sure.
Stay safe, staying healthy. Listen, everybody, subscribe. We'll be having Coach Alvin, a lot of people coming back soon. Just been a tough time this week with the passing of Khabib's father. And, we are really on the level. We're not a hyphy piece out here. We're just genuine people. And, sometimes something takes us away a bit. So please subscribe. We get more good stuff coming your way.